I'm Bad Brad Berkwitt from America,
I'm Gord Deppe from Canada.
and we welcome you to our show, Last Stop, the Twilight Zone show. Folks, is that not the coolest guitar riff ever?
One of the best TV show themes ever, too, I think.
All right, folks. So we left off last week with, if I remember correctly, you got your shot. You got your first shot, right?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
Good. Nothing. No, nothing like it was nothing at all, really. So, and I've had a lot of friends who did have reactions. So I think it all depends on your physiology. And I wonder if you react to the shot, if that means you would react strongly to the virus, where somebody doesn't. I don't know.
That's a good question.
I wonder.
Well, the people that say, I'm not going to take the shot, I say, well, so what's your alternative? Being on a respirator if you get COVID and your body can't take it, Because it's even with the Johnson & Johnson, don't get me wrong, I don't want to see anybody lose their life, but when you're administering millions and millions of shots and you got like 6, 7, 8 people, whatever the number was, it wasn't a big number, and they're getting blood clots, I'm not minimizing that.
Yeah.
But realistically, you got to look at the numbers compared to the number of shots and arms. But how people do. They take one case and they say, I'm not getting a shot.
Yeah, and anybody who's skeptical, I was kind of like, wait, what? I don't even know anybody who's got it. You hear about it. But I tell you, over the last month, there's a lot of people close to home getting it.
Right.
So I know it's real. It's not just out in the news somewhere. It's a real thing. And they say, don't, you have to take it seriously. It's not a joke.
Right. Well, with you being in your young 20s, you should be healthy as hell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're starting to do people younger and younger here, because my son is 22, 23, something like that. So he's eligible almost soon, which is taking a long time in Canada. Maybe the States have been doing that for a while, but
April 19th. April 19th, President Biden opened up for 16, from age 16 forward, to get your shots. But I got a text on my phone, one of those like emergency alerts, that there was a place in the city of Gary, Indiana, that they were doing it all day long. Just come on out, and you got to wait in line and get your shot. So,
well, we keep running out. Keep running out. So we keep coming. Trudeau keeps calling Biden for help, try to get some extra. I think he's got some sitting around that's going bad. So send it to Canada before it goes past the expiry date.
I know. And think about it. If Rod was alive today, he probably would have been writing episodes about this. He'd have some great material. So, All right, folks. So he got his shot. I turned 53 last week. I'm still alive. I'm wearing my birthday gift. Let me show off my
Very
Movado
nice
from Deb. I love Movados. Okay, so let me read the stats. We're switching for the next couple episodes. Gord is going to be doing a synopsis. Can't wait to hear this one. So today on the show, we're going to be reviewing the 8th episode, and it was Gord's DVR that it was the last one on the DVR, because someone said to me, "Is that the last one?" No, we got a couple more of season 1, which is cool because it was a great season. So 8th episode, and this one is called Time Enough at Last, which aired on November 20th, 1959, which we know is Gord's favorite year. It starred Burgess Meredith, Vaughn Taylor, and Jacqueline DeWitt. Now, it was based on a 1953 short story by Lynn Venable. The teleplay was done by Rod Serling, and it was directed by John Braham. So now I'll flip it over to you to do the synopsis.
Well, this is quite the episode. I think for a lot of people, it's the number one, or the most talked about episode. And we'll talk about later, even what Burgess Meredith had to say about it. It's pretty amazing what a legacy that thing has had for him. He plays a bank teller. His name is Henry Bemis. What a nerdy name, right? With big, thick glasses on.
Yes.
And he's works as a teller in a bank, and obviously he doesn't like his job. His passion is reading. Even when he's serving customers, he's got his book. Remember what book he's reading when the
Yeah, it was Dickens.
David Copperfield.
David
Yeah.
Copperfield, right.
So, and people think he's nuts, right? He's just so
Was it
absorbed.
Copperfield? Was Copperfield by by Charles
David
Dickens?
Copperfield?
I think it was
I
written
don't.
by Charles Dickens, but I could be wrong. But it's David Copperfield for
Yeah.
sure. Yep.
Yeah. So it's his escape from the real world, I guess. He doesn't really seem to need people, you know. This is important because later on he will need people. He's absorbed in his reading. It's all he cares about. It's ruining his job. His boss almost fires him because he's neglecting his job. He goes home. His wife is upset with him because he doesn't pay any attention to her. She's not a very nice lady, but his whole life is reading. He's got books hidden around the house, which he leaves the room. And there's one nasty part where he finds a book underneath the seat in his living room chair there. Oh, it's just like a book of poetry. And she walks in and I think, oh, she's being sweet. She said, why don't you read me a nice story, like a nice poem? Really, you want me to read to you? Finally she's coming to his side. It's all along. She says to him, you're an idiot. Like I think it was Rod's jab at the anti-intellectual trend at the time, it was kind of bookworms and all that sort of stuff. So he opens up the book of poetry and she's crossed all the stuff out, like as a joke, like, stop reading, you're wasting your life, that kind of thing. And then make it even worse, she rips the pages out of the book, which is like the biggest sin for any book lover, right?
Yep.
Rips it to shreds. So yeah, he sort of hides back in this reading world. That's all he cares about. So flash forward, he decides to only find any kind of privacy, because everybody's trying to stop him from reading and distracting him. He goes into the bank vault where he works, and he has a little quiet spot there with a stack of books and nobody can bother him. He closes the door. And of course, there's a newspaper and there's a warning about the H-bomb coming. And within like seconds, you hear a big explosion. Like Rob doesn't waste any time. I goes right to the point. Like right away, H-bomb explodes, his book flies over and the room rattles. And of course, when he leaves his little bunker, in a way, he comes out and everything's destroyed. The bank is gone. It's rubble. Everything is rubble. The world is destroyed. He goes outside. It's flattened. It's just completely flattened. And it seems like he's the last man on earth. That's the way it seems. Like he's the last guy left. And there's a kind of a slow section where he wanders and all of a sudden he realizes that he misses people. It's the first time in his life he's felt alone. He was too busy, too absorbed in reading books, I guess. And there's a point where he can't take it anymore. And you think he's going to do himself in. He finds I think it was a hardware store. He finds a gun. He's just about to put it to his temple and he looks down and in the rubble, he sees the rock that said public library. He goes, whoa. So he goes in, of course, thousands, all the books you would ever want to read in a lifetime, right? Oh, I forgot to mention, he did find food. So there's enough cans of food to last him forever. He's not worried about that. But all of a sudden, from going lonely, he says, well, no, I can go back to what I really love. So he stacks up all the books. He divides them into months. Like he's got his whole year planned out. And this is where Rod, has to spoil it again and take us to the Twilight Zone. And at one point, he sees a book and he goes, what's that? He bends down. His thick reading glasses fall off and smash. And he's practically blind.
Yeah.
And then what? He's like, he says, it's not fair. It's not fair. Well, Twilight Zone is not fair. And I found this very interesting because how he said before, the Twilight Zone was always forgiving with the meek and the pure people, and then very, like justice was served for the evil. But in this case, he comes off at the beginning as a very meek, likable guy, but he kind of gets the nasty end of the stick. And I think maybe because Rob was saying, well, he wasn't really that pure because he was sort of self-centered. He didn't want people. He's antisocial, so somehow I got to justify why, because as a kid, this one really left a dark cloud over me. What an ending! What a twist of at the end. And then for that reason, some Twilight Zones are my favorite because of the impression they left with me. And this one left a really dark feeling, and I got that again watching it. So that's pretty well it. That's the story. So he thought he had it made with all the books you could ever read in a lifetime, and just within a second, he's thrust into the Twilight Zone.
Right. And before I do the trivia and facts, looking at researching it, Rod also was dealing with, was it solitude versus loneliness? Because he had both. He wanted solitude, but then he was lonely too. When, as you said, when he realized that there's nobody there. I forgot about the food part, that he had plenty of food, but of course, the other side of me is like, well, how do you take a shower? How do you bathe? You know, everything is destroyed and the water is probably contaminated. You know, I don't know that for a fact, but they didn't address that part at all. But he did have the food when he was eating. He ate the cracker and he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Burgess Meredith. What a
Yeah. It's
great.
funny. He flipped from being like, it's the end of the world, and then he gets this hope because he's back to being a self-centered bookworm.
Yep.
But for a second, he was kind of human, and he needed other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment he flipped back to that other personality, I said, "No, you're not.
Yeah.
It's done."
And he snatched up. Yeah. So for trivia and facts on this one, Burgess Meredith and another actor, let's see if you can guess who it is, were now stars, and they tied for the most episodes of Twilight Zone, which was at 4.
Four.
So
Yeah.
Burgess Meredith has been in 4. Do you know the other actor that was a star of 4 of them? I'm not going to give the names of the episodes because we'll review them in the future, but do you know the other actor?
Any clues you can give me?
He's one of my favorites.
I couldn't say.
Jack Klugman.
Oh,
Jack Klugman is in 4.
a real character actor too, right? Like
Yeah,
Burgess,
yeah.
There's nobody like those guys, right?
Nobody.
This very unique actors.
And you know what? I got to give you some props. The last episode was the last episode we reviewed. The one, yeah, it was with David Wayne, right? Or was that the one before? No, the last one was The Lonely. The one before that. I can't believe we've done so many already. So the one you said about David Wayne playing the Mad Hatter, and you kind of said he reminded you of Burgess Meredith. I had forgot on Batman, he played the Mad Hatter. You're absolutely right, because they had a picture of them side by side as the Penguin and the Mad Hatter, and they were very much alike. And you were spot on with that. So some other stuff about this one. Time Enough for Last was one of the first episodes written for the Twilight Zone, which introduced Burgess Meredith to the series, his first one, obviously. And as I said, he went to star in 3 more. Well, he was so popular, this episode did so well for the series in the first season that for a promotional spot for season 2 of one that he was in called The Obsolete Man, they pushed that it was a return of Burgess Meredith, because that's how big this episode was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As well, as I said, it was a ratings success in its initial airing and became an instant classic. It remains one of the best remembered and best loved episodes of the Twilight Zone, according to Mark Zicree, who's the author of the Twilight Zone companion book, as well as one of the most frequently parodied.
Parodied, yeah.
Yep. When a poll asked readers of Twilight Zone magazine which episode of the series they remember the most, Time Enough for Last was the most frequent one, with To Serve Man a distant second.
Really a distant second. I'm amazed.
They said a distant second. Huh. In TV Land's presentation of TV Guide's 100 most memorable moments in television, Time Enough at Last ranks at number 25. Now, one of the other actors in it that was the bank manager who was giving him the business, who was Vaughn Taylor was the actor's name. He played Mr. Carsville. Believe it or not, he was in 4 Twilight Zones, but as a co-star, not as a star of the episode. So he's in 4 as well as a co-star of some, I'm not going to give them away, but upcoming episodes. As well, like I said, there was a lot of discussion on Rod's take on what you said about that year compared to old literature and stuff like that. They even talked about Shakespeare being, somebody said smut and something I read about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's all up to the person reading it. But
yeah, that's true.
This definitely, as well, Burgess Meredith, another trivia fact, in the 1983 movie that was directed by John Landis, Burgess Meredith basically played the Rod Serling part. You never saw him, but he did all the voiceovers in the movie. And one tidbit about that movie, I don't know if you noticed, Gord, that's the one where Vic Morrow got decapitated by a helicopter. Did you know that?
In the making of it. Yeah,
I remember. Yeah.
I forgot until you just reminded me. That was
he a very big actor. One time he got his head cut off.
I remember going to the movie knowing that, right? That was part of going to see the movie. Oh my God, somebody got killed.
Yep.
Made it kind of bittersweet in a way, yeah.
It was a big lawsuit. And as well, at the beginning, I believe it's Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd are talking, and they said that, and I don't remember this in the movie, I just saw it researching it, that they referenced this episode as well. So that's what I have for trivia and facts. What do you got?
Well, if you think about it, how timely it is, and I don't know if Rod saw this coming, but think of the modern world or the very near future where maybe all books and print media will be just digital, right?
Yeah.
And with
Yeah.
one big flash, one big EMP blast or something, it could be wiped clean. Like instead of smashing your glasses, all of a sudden all the computers are down and all their literature is gone. It's like that moment in Escape from New York, or where Snake's Plimpkin or something. He holds the
Yeah,
match
you got
up.
it.
We're back.
Snake Plissken. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, we're back in medieval times.
Yeah.
It could be over just like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you would have foreseen that, but it's kind of a message in that that you can all hinge on something very small like that. You mentioned that it was the most parodied episode. They even parodied it in The Simpsons.
Yep.
Isn't that funny?
Yep.
In The Walking Dead, I mean, there was an episode I read about where they walk into some place, deserted place with rubble, and there's a smashed pair of glasses, and they make some books lying beside it, and one of the characters made some reference.
Okay.
It's part of culture. It's part of theatrical culture. Even in the Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror, the ride at Disney World or something.
Yep.
I didn't know this because I was there with my son. As you go through the lobbies of different displays, nobody would know this unless you're a fan. Just very discreetly, they have a little display of some rubble with a pair of glasses smashed on it as a tribute to that episode.
Yep.
It's very, very cool. Another very cool thing is that I love old film. Most of it was just leftover bits of sets they used. There was, but one of the things that the steps going up to the library, I found out was later used. Remember the movie The Time Machine?
Yep.
It was one of the Eloi temples, with which is another great movie. That could have been a Twilight Zone, episode right there. That's really about it. Like Burgess said the same thing. It was the most talked about thing in his life. He said more television, but I don't remember much more outside of bigger than that in his film career. But he said
probably equal to that in the States is when he played Rocky's trainer. He was real big in that.
That's true.
Because he was in the Rocky. He played Mickey Goldmill.
But like you said before, we're still affected by that shock of that final scene. Imagine what it was like back then.
Yeah.
Tenfold, the effect of that.
Well, think about this. I mean, you're born in '59, but I don't know if you dealt with it in Canada, but the first couple of years, I mean, it's a couple of years before I was born, but you had in school where they taught you about the bomb that go under your desk, or people had shelters that they would go in their backyard and they go underground and they have food in there. And
you lived in fear. You always had the cloud hanging over you that it could happen, right? Yep. So that fear was there. So do you remember what time? Here's a little bit of trivia because they showed it twice. Do you remember what time the clock stopped when the bomb went off?
No, I don't remember.
But just a small thing, but they did show it a couple of times. And once in the bank vault, and then later in the rubble. So they had a good continuity girl because it was 12:25 every time they showed it. One last thing I want to say is, if you like Burgess Meredith, if you want to see one of the strangest movies ever made, and I actually have it on video or on DVD because
I bet I know what you're going to say. I bet the movie, I know what you're going to say, and I've seen. Go ahead.
Torture Garden?
Oh, no, you got me there. No.
Oh, it's the freakiest thing you'll ever see. It's kind of a macabre. He's like a freaky, like this sort of freak circus host. Very really? There's a short story. It's almost like a Twilight Zone thing within the story, but they're all based around this weird carnival.
Made in the 70s? Made in 1970s?
Probably, yes. It's very Twilight Zone-ish. It is in color and it's very twisted. And there's some very dark ends for these evil people. Okay. It's divided into 3 or 4 segments, but check it out. If you're a fan of his, he plays a really dark, sort of a nasty circus. Who's the guy who runs the circus?
P.T. Barnum.
Yeah, and then he brings all these people in. They pay to come to see these freaks or whatever, but they don't realize that they're going to get what they deserve.
I never heard it. It's an old film. I got to check that out. I thought you were going to say a movie that I saw. I think it came out in '76, and it was with Oliver Reed and Karen Black. It was called Burnt Offerings, and it was a strange movie. I don't know if you remember that one.
No, he was in some serious films like Of Mice and Men. He did some,
John
big stuff.
Well, you remember his co-star in that was?
No, who's that?
Lon Chaney Jr. I think it was 1939. Great movie. John Steinbeck wrote the book.
Yeah. Anyways, you want to get some good lockdown viewing? Go check out Torture Garden. It sounds really awful, the title, but it's not. There's no actual torture in it, but it's the macabre meets old to TV, and so,
Right,
so it's never
right.
going to get too bad. But it's very fun to watch.
So let me ask you: do you like to read books, or do you like to read them on a iPad?
I still do both.
See, I can't. I got to read them in hand. I can read
Yeah,
articles on the internet, but I can't do books. I don't. I like them on. I like
yeah,
reading
yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people when they want me to do book reviews, they always say, "Oh, I'll send you a PDF." I said, "No, you got to send me a hard copy. I can't do PDF and read it like that." Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of trivia on
That
any
reminds me, I
book.
still got to send you my book. I will send it
Uh,
spoon fed. I got to send it to
no,
you.
I like the alternate title, 50 Shades of Spoons. Okay. Who went last week first for rating it? Did you go first? No, you go first this time.
Yeah, I give it an 8.
Okay, I'm going to beat you
You
again on
know,
this.
it's definitely better than average. Even though it's one of the best episodes that get ratings wise, most popular, most remembered. Like I said, as a kid, it left a dark cloud over me. Just still kind of makes me go, it's an excellent piece of filmmaking and acting and stuff, but it makes me kind of feel a little creeped out about the possible future, So
Okay. Well, I'm probably going to surprise you because I gave it a 10. His acting was phenomenal. I like the
yeah,
writing. Yeah, I've seen this episode a million times. I didn't really even have to watch it, but I did rewatch it. And it always stuck with me too. There's certain ones, even though I got my top 3, it's not in my top 3, but I still do give it a 10. Because it definitely left a mark on what could possibly happen. And if you remember years later in about 1983, you remember the actor Jason Robards? Remember when he did that TV movie called The Day After when they had a nuclear bomb hit? Do you remember that?
but not really, no.
Okay, it was kind of along the same lines of this, but he wasn't about reading, of course. But it was everything got pretty much decimated, but there were some people still
Yeah,
alive. Now,
not.
the one thing I will say, but again, it was 1959. The backdrops and stuff were looking at it now. Back then, of course, it was fine, but it is so fake. That's the one
See,
thing.
but I like that.
But
I
you
like
like that,
whole
right? You like that
filmmaking.
camping. I don't know if you call that campiness or what, but
Yeah,
it was so fake.
yeah. I remember we used to do the car scenes and be driving, and you could see it's a movie behind them.
Yep.
You could tell not even in a car, but there's something magical. But I think somebody like Tarantino should go back and make a movie like that, using all the old world tricks like that.
Techniques,
Because they're kind of novelty now, but they still have a charm to them.
Well, you were talking about Disneyland. When my dad tried to get back into acting in 1976, we drove cross country from Miami Beach to California in a Volkswagen Bug. Can you imagine that?
Perfect.
A Volkswagen freaking Bug with no air conditioning and the heat on the floor, packed. And we went out there, and he took me to Universal Studios, and we sat in the car, what you're just talking about, where you sit in the car and they got the screen behind you. Because when you watch a lot of 70s TV shows and they're turning into stuff, and you can tell but it's still it's cheesy today, but it's still cool. It's
No, it is absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right. So, what do you got coming up this week?
Well, we're just about to put out our Spoon's Best Of album, which will be out very shortly. It's called Repeatable. So if anybody in America wants to catch up on our 40 years of music,
you can include that in my belated birthday gift.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, you're getting everything. You're getting the Spoons. You're gonna get the Spoons mask. You're gonna get the CD, the book,
Cool.
whatever. I don't know, whatever you got. That's coming out, and it's gonna be CD. But we decided the vinyl, because of length, it's gonna be a double vinyl. I've never had double vinyl. That opens up and everything.
Yep. Yeah.
So it'll be kind of
cool.
cool.
The album Frampton Comes Alive. Peter Frampton had double album.
That's the first one I think of.
Yep. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. We had talked about this a long time ago. You had this is when we did our interview back in December. You had tried out for a part. Did you ever get a call back or any more information on it?
No, I checked into it later, and supposedly they never followed through, because they didn't pick anybody from whoever auditioned. It was all pretty well every singer from my generation that I could think of went.
Right.
Maybe they decided none of those guys are real actors. Let's just change it to something else.
I hear you.
So I thought it was pretty good. I thought I did well.
That's cool. Yeah. What's the temperature there today?
I got converted, right? So it's around 60 maybe.
Okay. Yeah, we're supposed to hit 84 tomorrow, but it's been 30s, 50s, 20s. I mean, it's like,
Oh yeah,
you know,
we had snow. We had snow a couple of days ago.
we did
Yeah.
too. We too. It didn't stick. It didn't stick, but with little flurries and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I know you got your first shot. Now, did they put you on a thing to tell you when your next one is like us, or you don't know?
Yeah.
When you get your next one?
Get this, 4 months they're making us wait.
Jesus.
When at first they said that was not. They said you have to get your next shot within so many weeks, and all of a sudden they changed their minds. Well, I think what they want to do is get everybody their first shot before they move on to the second.
See, and you got the Pfizer?
Yeah.
See, that's strange because we got it on April 7th, and we got our thing right here. I don't know the like and block it, but May, this is what they gave. So May 4th, we're getting ours. I don't understand how if they're trying to put you in a window, how 4 months. Watch them tell you guys, oh, you got to get 2 more shots or something.
Well, they already said that. They already said they'd have to get a booster in 6 months or next year, early next year.
Well, we don't get political on this show, so we won't go here. But boy, Rod could write some. I know Rod could write some stories about what's going on in the last year and a half.
I wonder if he would have gone into hiding, because this is a time when reality is worse than fiction, like crazier than fiction almost, right?
I know.
So how could you write about this and be interesting? Because it's like, no, this is bad enough. We don't want to embellish this. We may go on just escapism, right? Like a lot of episodes about getting away from this kind of stuff.
I'm telling you, got anti-vaxxers there like we do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they protest and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They just have smaller knives in Canada, smaller clubs, smaller pitchforks.
I hear you. So,
they do it politely here.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that's another episode of Last Stop, the Twilight Zone show. We got a couple more for 1959 season, which is really cool. This has been fun because we've had some really good episodes this season.
Amazing for a first season, eh?
Yeah.
For how many good episodes right off the bat? It's pretty amazing.
All right, so I'll remind everybody, make sure you hit the button to subscribe. We always appreciate comments and retweets, and if you see it on Facebook, share it. We appreciate it. For the people that we've brought back into the fold, again, we appreciate your comments, and glad that you're enjoying it. I see a lot of stuff on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook, so I see a lot of stuff on Twitter that people really, really enjoy, especially when they say, oh, man, I remember that episode. Yeah, I forgot all of those little details. Thank you, guys. Because they love how we break down the synopsis, because they're like, I remember that point. Yeah, so it's cool. So on that note, as we always do, I'll say goodbye from America.
Goodbye from Canada.
Until next time.